Creek are sentient beings that have their own life, their own needs, their own obligations, rights and responsibilities, and that needs to be respected and acknowledged and supported. This creek is important because it connects the catchment to the broader region. When this creek floods, it provides the sediment and the silt so that all the trees and the grasses can grow. It supports so many other more than human aspects of country. This creek is important because it is a creek.
I used to live in O'Connor, which runs along the concrete drains in the inner north, and I used to cycle past it daily. And that's all I ever thought they were. I just thought they were just drains to take off the runoff of water. And then it didn't take me long then to scratch the surface and realise, hang on a minute, these are urban waterways. This is a creek. We decided we would host a walk along the whole of the creek and allow the creek then to tell the story of colonial impact. We had Uncle Wally and Auntie Karen, and they guided us along the creek. There wasn't a lot of talking. It was actually the creek who was doing most of the talking, and it actually shifted my whole experience. I just feel like there is a potential to shift people's thinking just through walking and experiencing and stopping and listening.
Ngunawal people have occupied this region for at least 25,000 years. Sullivan's Creek was on one of our longer journey paths, and we used to camp up in Mulligan's Flat. As Aboriginal people, we listen to the land. That's important not only to us for our well-being, but also to understand and hear what the land wants from us. That's really what we do as Aboriginal people. We look after country, care for country, and do what country wants more so than what we want. Developments and things like that, they'll just get out there and change it. ANU, for instance, they changed the watercourse. And a couple of years ago now, there was a heavy downpour in Canberra, and the waters that came through along Sullivan's Creek wanted to follow its old watercourse, because water does have a memory and it remembers going that way. So by going back on its old course, it actually went through the Chifley Library, I think, and flooded the place out. So the reason why I get engaged with people is to help them find country, using your words, is because we want people to feel the same feelings that we do about country. You know, it's not just a place to use and abuse, it's a place to belong to look after and care for. And that's the turnaround that I want to see in people, is to get them to respect the place that they're living in.
With the particular corridor of Canberra is the connection of the whole landscape. So when we've started at Guru, you feel like you're up in the reserve, you know, and it feels like that's how it should look all the way through. But understanding the journey down and the way the landscape changes, so you have the cleaner water up at Guru because it's on that higher elevation, so you've got the rain falling into there. As we come into the urban area, we have our urban stormwater runoff, which can then affect the quality of the water. How we look after the water here makes a difference as how the water comes out into Lake Bellygriffin.
A creek or a watercourse really helps you understand a place, the underlying physical geography of a place in a different way. I also looked at the old maps, and that enabled me to realise, when I was reading these early European descriptions of, you know, walking down and viewing the limestone plains, as it was called, that those limestone plains were a network of creeks that ran across them, and these creeks were still visible in these old maps, but they're largely invisible now. So by retracing those, I could see that the original creeks appeared to have something to do with what Walter Burley Griffin had planned for the city, in that the creeks seemed to lead to all the same places that we know in the north when we look at where the location of Ainsley shops, or we look at the location of Dixon shops and the location of Watson shops, that they are actually a lot of the time the endpoints of these original creeks.
One of the things about walking along Canberra that I've really learned over the last few months is this idea of fluidity, that country is always changing, that it goes underground, that it comes above ground, that it breaks into different channels and streams. It has a memory, that it kind of travels routes and then shifts off those routes and goes somewhere else. And for me, the way in which Canberra teaches us that country is living, country is always changing, and that even as we walk along it, we're both learning about country but also very much changing country.
I guess if the creek could speak in a language that we understood or were willing to listen to, it would tell us the history of this country, the deep history of this country, like even probably the pre-Indigenous history of this country, the formation of this continent. So I guess in that sense, one of its really deepest values is teaching us how to respect country, something that's been lost and needs to be reclaimed.